Next question. Andrew Platt says, my 66-year-old mom is looking for a small SUV. Input on the Hyundai Tucson versus Hyundai CRV versus Toyota RAV4. Okay, well, it depends on what you want to pay and how long you want to drive a vehicle. There's a big differential in quality and in price. If you're talking about brand new, you can buy a Korean car like a Hyundai. You're going to pay a lot less. Generally, they don't have any problems till they get to be older, have over 100,000 miles on them, or get to be really old years, 8, 10 years old. Some people are happy with that. But if you want something like when I buy it, I want it to last for decades, hundreds of thousands of miles, you definitely would go the Honda CRV or the Toyota RAV4. They're just going to outlast them. That's just how those things go. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They just will outlast them. You're going to pay more. So if you're going for like a short-term thing, you could get a Hyundai. Say she's 66. How many miles is she going to put on it? If she's not going to put much mileage on it, go ahead. They're not terrible vehicles. You'll save a lot of money. But if it's a deal where you think she's going to drive it for a while and then you're going to inherit it, or kids or somebody's going to inherit, grandkids, you'd be better off getting the Toyota or the Honda. Next question. Scarface Senso, say, Scotty, why do you choose Ford F-150 over Toyota for full size? I heard some of the newer ones have electrical issues. Okay, here's the thing. If you want a full-size pickup truck and you're planning on hauling a lot, towing a lot, the Fords have been made for ages to do that. Toyotas make excellent pickup trucks. There's no arguing that. But the full-size pickups, they can be expensive to maintain because a lot of their designs, they got the same engine V8 as the Lexus. I mean, they're high-tech stuff. They cost a lot of money to fix. They cost an awful lot of money. I've just had my experience, customers, for the money and for what they spend, they were happier with an F-150 than they would be with a Toyota Tundra. That's just from my customers and what they give feedback on me. I'm not a truck guy myself. I don't have a truck. Whenever I need a truck, I use my neighbor's truck. Or if I need a really big one, I rent it for half a day. I mean, it really doesn't make all that much difference. But if you do want a full-size one, I just find that you're better off with a Ford. And if you're serious about towing, you get a diesel too, not a gasoline. Next question. Brandon Grant says, Scotty, I got a 2012 Silverado 5.3. The spark plugs are fouling out, covered in oil. Could this be the active fuel management system? I do short trips and lots of idling. Thanks. Well, not really. When they foul out and are covered in oil, that means that you've got a problem inside the engine. Either the piston rings are worn or the valve seals are worn and it's sucking too much oil in and burning it and clogging it up. Now, of course, try the simple thing. Change the PCV valve, because if the PCV valve is bad, that's a cheap fix. You can fix it. I always try that. But on those GM engines, their V8 engines are just weaker these days. When I was a kid, I learned how to drive on a Chevy Biscayne with the 350. And that thing just ran forever. I mean, it had a strong V8. The body rotted out. My father sold the car to a junk man, and he took the engine out and put it in his junk yard truck where he hauled junk around, and it kept going. So, they don't make them like they used to. Mainly, it means you got an internal engine problem. And have a wet and dry compression test done on the engine. If it's going out, my advice is probably get rid of the vehicle. If not, I'd put another engine in it. Next question. Joey Higginbotham says, Scotty, I'm looking at buying a 2007 Toyota Camry Hybrid with 280,000 miles. It needs a new battery pack. Is it worth the hassle? I can get the car for less than $2,000. Okay. If you can get it for less than $1,000, sure, but $2,000, nah, it's not worth it. Because here's the thing. Guys sell reconditioned battery packs. Well, ask them about the guarantee. Usually it's a year or so. If you need a new battery pack, they can cost $4,000 or $5,000 or more. And that's the way to go if you're going to buy a car like that. But I wouldn't put that kind of money into that car. So if you're willing to buy a car like that and put in a reconditioned battery pack, realize it might crap out in a year or so. I'm not a fan of buying used old hybrids with that much miles on them, because on top of that, it's got 280,000 miles and it's 12 years old. If the generator goes out, that's $5,000 to put a generator in it too. So I'd pass on it if I were you. If you can get one and it runs and the battery pack works good for that kind of money, go ahead and toy around with it. But if you know you got to spend that right away, I wouldn't buy it. Next question. Gregory Quero says, Scotty, I've been looking at this used 2015 Hyundai Genesis Coupe 3.8 V6 with 12,000 miles manual tranny. Is it a good choice for an 18-year-old? Okay, for your head and your image, it probably is. But that's an extremely fast car. You might kill yourself in it. My advice for 18 years old is don't buy too fast of a vehicle to start out with. As an example, when I was a kid, I learned how to drive motorcycles on a BSA Lightning. At the time, that was the fastest production motorcycle in the world. I'm lucky I didn't kill myself on it. Today, and it only had like 65 horsepower. Today, you can get a brand new motorcycle that has over 200 horsepower. I don't advise a young person to get that. You might kill yourself. Look for a somewhat slower vehicle if I were you. Next question. Oh, yeah, Scotty, are black oil-based undercoating for frames reliable? Well, they can be, but here's the thing. If you're talking about undercoating a frame, you can't undercoat a rusty frame. So if it's already rusting and you coat it, you're just sealing the rust in or it'll rot right through. If you have a frame that isn't rusted, sure, go right ahead. It works. But if you just coat over the rust, it's just going to continue rusting and come out. Because you have to understand frames, water gets inside the frames. They have holes in them anyways, just to let water come out when it fills up with water. So water can also get in. And it's going to be rotten from the inside out. And if you coat the outside, it isn't going to fix anything. But if it isn't rotted already, yeah, it's a good idea. It does actually work. Next question. Igbo Tifosi says, Scotty, my 2018 RAV4 push-button start car was stolen here in the UK. Any immobilizer tips for me? Yeah, I even made a video about that. The problem with those immobilizer cars that have those stupid keyless ignition systems is any pro can steal them, because you can buy even from eBay, the keyless remote system. You can buy just the fob, and then it has to be programmed for your car. If a guy gets into your car, you leave it unlocked, or if he's around when you are and you push the button to lock it and unlock it, he can record that and unlock it. And once he's inside with that fob himself, he can have a computer like I have, that mechanics have for reprogramming them, and he can key that he has bought on eBay. He can program your car 10, 15 minutes if he's got time. He can reprogram and then drive away with your car and it's his. If you do have a car like that, the best thing to do is at least get one of those locking steering column kits. So, hey, he's going to see that. He's going to walk away because he's going to know he can drive it without getting that out. And he's probably not ready to get rid of that stuff because he's doing electronic stealing, not mechanical stealing. And, of course, you can get stuff like LoJack on them where, you can even put a fuel cutoff switch on top of what you already have. And then if you turn that off every time you shut the car off, he's not going to be looking all around for a shut off switch. He's going to figure out this. No one's going to try to steal it because they think you can't. But that immobilizer switch, if you put a little key in there to turn it off, then it won't start. Most people don't want to go that far, but if you do and you hide it in a good place, a real thief can keep looking and find it. But most guys are going to do the computer, push the button. If it doesn't start, they're going to run away. Next question. Autos CTRL says, Scotty, can I remove a muffler in the 98 Volvo S70? Well, I don't know. I don't know how capable we are. If you can take it off and remove it. But if you do, it's going to make all kinds of noise, and eventually it won't run right because the computer in the car will be confused by the information that it gets about the flow of the exhaust, and it's probably going to mess up your catalytic converter system because it's going to flow too fast. And it really isn't going to make it run any better anyways, because the little restriction that's on the muffler isn't all that much. The restriction on the catalytic converter usually is more than what the muffler's doing. And if you're leaving that on, what's the point? But if you live in an area like Montana or something that doesn't do any kind of emissions testing, you can really do whatever you want and then drive it around, but they're generally not going to run right when you do. Next question. Ankles XS Scotty. I've been looking to sell my 03 Ford Focus and using some of the money to buy a 92 Mazda Miata. Is a good choice. I want to have fun with the car, and I feel a Miata would be great. Yeah, those Miatas were fun little sports cars. Smart thing to get rid of that Focus at 16 years old, and generally they always turn into money pits by then. If they haven't, they soon will. The Mazda Miatas were cute little sports cars. You can have fun with them. One thing, though, do not buy a Mazda Miata with an automatic transmission from back in those days. They were terrible. They were junk. They're no fun to drive. But if you get one with a standard transmission, they're fun. I have plenty of customers have those older ones, and they have a riot with the things. And they're usually not all that expensive either, because they sold a whole bunch of them. And so there's a lot of them out there for sale. They can be fun. That sounds like a smart idea to me. Something random asks, Scotty, what's your opinion on a car using laminated glass on every window? Is the safety risk worth the benefits? Okay, yeah, I think it is, really. Here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand. Originally, cars, all the glasses were laminated except for the rear window, because it was safer if you get in wrecks, It's just the way the glass isn't going to come in and cut you. It's going to stay just like the windshield. But then, a long time ago, they decided, let's save some money and make cars cheaper. So they changed the law in the United States for the safety for the side windows. They kept the front windscreen the same. That had to be laminated. But they changed it that they could use just the cheaper safety glass in the side, that you hit them, it doesn't break off in sheets, it shatters into little pieces. But they changed the law to allow it, and then they made them that way. And now there's some people are going back to laminated glass because, yes, it actually is better for the people inside, and your car is structurally stronger too if you get in a wreck. Of course, if the door is jammed and you can't get out, it's very hard to break them too. That's the trade-off. But safety-wise, really, I think it's safer to have laminated glass because it's structurally stronger if the car rolls over and does stuff. And then people can't just come up to your car with a hammer and go bang and bash the window and steal everything inside. If they know it's laminated glass, they hit it, they can't break it, and they walk away. So I like the idea. It costs more money to make them, though. Realize that. But they all originally were made that way. That's the history of it. Next question. Noamra says, Scotty, what's your opinion on standard transmission Volvos, especially the fast ones? Well, they're fine cars. The big downfall of the later model Volvos were their automatic transmissions were crappy and cost a fortune to repair when they went out. They were not cheap vehicles to repair, and they weren't as dependable. But the standard transmission ones, I've never seen a standard transmission go out on any of those Volvos. So they're really strong, well-built ones. And the faster Volvos, yeah, they were zippy cars to go around in. Yeah, here in the United States, Volvos generally turned in to more yuppie cars where the soccer moms wanted them, so they were all automatic transmissions and with all the bells and whistles. But their fancier ones, the fast ones with standard transmissions, hey, they were fun to drive, zippy, and they held up pretty well. Of course, now the Chinese own Volvo, and they claim they're only going to be making hybrid and electric cars in the near future, so you can pass all that. That'll be a thing of the past. They won't be making those anymore. Next question. Hornet Killer 4 says, Scotty, have you ever been injured while working on a car? Well, cuts and bruises sure all the time. But I'm always wearing my strong sunglasses, shades with, these are glass lenses, they're real strong. And so I haven't had any major problems. The only big thing that ever happened to me was I was dumb. And I was working on a clutch and I was pulling the transmission off and it slipped off the jack and I put my hand under it to stop it. Well, the transmission landed on my finger and squashed it. Man, it was swollen up for weeks. It hurt like mad. And I can still feel it when it's going to rain. You know, I got like a weather finger. So my advice is, if you're working and you see something heavy falling, just get out of the way. Don't try to catch it. I learned my lesson on that one. Next question. Alex Hampton says, Scotty, what do you recommend? Toyota Land Cruiser 2000, 2008, or Range Rover Classic 90s or 80s? Okay, well, the Land Cruisers, they last longer. They hold up. The parts are cheaper on them than on the Range Rovers. Now, the real early Range Rovers, when you're talking about the four-cylinder ones, those were extremely reliable tanks. The Range Rovers were an English copy of the American Jeep from World War II. They took them apart, and after World War II, they started the Range Rover, the little bitty ones. And they were basically a British copy of the American Jeeps. And they were reliable, not powerful, but they were reliable. Farmers loved them. They go through the mud and dirt and stuff. But as they got bigger, they got more and more unreliable. For early, they used to have Buick V8 engines in them, and they just started to have problems as they got bigger and bigger. And now, I mean, they're owned by Tata, the Indian company. I mean, I wouldn't wish one on one of my worst enemies, really. Or maybe I would. Next question. Kevin Marcusian says, Scotty, I got an 04 Nissan 350Z. I have this issue. My car feels sluggish and hesitant. I cleaned the MAF and throttle body, and it was great. Now, but after a month, it starts to being sluggish again. Okay, if it was great after you did that cleaning, I would say just get another MAF sensor. Nissans eat up MAF sensors. And go ahead and get a new one. That's what I'd say. You cleaned it, and you know, you can clean it, but in a month by itself, it's not going to get dirty. It shouldn't affect it. But if it's worn, it will do that. So get another MAF sensor. If it really ran great after that first cleaning, just go and buy another MAF sensor. And my advice is get a good scan tool. You can get one for like $60 that'll read MAF sensor data. And when you put a new one in, read that MAF sensor data and record it. Put it on your computer as a graph. And then every once in a while, you can check it to see if it's still working right. Then you'll know how your car works. Now, I have to do that as a for hundreds of different kinds of cars. So it's a real pain in the butt having all this data and having to know how to analyze it. But you only have one car, so get that data yourself. Then you'll know what's good and what's bad. Next question. Kevin Stewart says, synthetic versus real leather. What should I get? Okay. Well, I basically say real leather if you're the type of guy that takes care of it. My wife's got a 02 Lexus ES 300. Everything's leather. Beautiful cream-colored leather. Those seats are still immaculate. And they're 17 years old. But I take care of them. I use this English company's cleaner and preservative, where you clean them all, and then you put the preservative on. And they still are fantastic and supple. I mean, you can't beat them. Synthetic, you know, it's synthetic. It doesn't feel as well, and it actually will crack a lot of times earlier than the leather will. Now, if you're talking about just regular seats, not synthetic leather, but cloth seats, well, if you want to take care of them and clean them, of course, they can last quite some time in and of themselves, and there's less maintenance involved. But the synthetic leather, really, it won't last as long as the real leather if you take care of it but you got to make sure that you take care of it. That's the thing. A lot of people don't take care of them at all. And then in the hot sun, and if you live up north, the cold winter where they get cold and they crack, yeah. You know, if you live up north where it's really cold, a lot of times you're just better off with the cloth seats. They're made to handle the temperature better than real leather or synthetic leather. Next question. Freddie says, Scotty, my 04 Honda CRV water pump should be replaced. Should I get rid of the car? No, change it. That's an easy job. They're not that complicated on those cars. You know, change the water pump and use an OEM one. They last a lot longer, and put in new coolant. Use the OAT, organic acid technology coolant. You can use any long life one like Prestone or whatever. It'll say long life antifreeze, compatible with all cars. No, don't get rid of that car. Those are great cars. They can last a really long time. Don't get rid of it for just a water pump. It's not that big of a deal on one of those things. Next question. La Cinnamon 31 asks Scotty, my 99 Buick Regal shut off while I was driving on the highway. It did it 3 times. I have no idea what the problem is. Okay, they can shut off for many reasons. First thing you want to do is have the ignition control module tested on that thing. That's a known problem. They just shut off the electricity to the ignition system and they stop running. Have that checked first. Now, it is a 99. So it is OBD2, and have a good mechanic like myself test it out with a scan tool, because a lot of times it will trip a historical code that only mechanics can read. And it'll say this system broke down, and it'll show exactly what it is, because it could also be a pump losing pressure, different things. Have a mechanic check it first just to see if there's any historical codes. It doesn't take me 5 minutes to check that stuff out. But a lot of times it is the ignition control module on that particular model. Next question. They're all flying up and down like mad. Nick Berlin says, Scotty, I saw a commercial using Dawn dish soap on car wheels to clean them. What do you think? Okay, well, dishwashing fluid is for what? Gets rid of dirt and grease. Now, you're generally not going to get grease on your wheels unless you got leaking grease seals, and you need to fix that, you know. You're talking about brake dust and stuff. And, yeah, it can take off dust and stuff, you know. They make special cleaners for the wheels. And my advice is you're better off doing that, because they have made them just for the wheel cleaning. A lot of them have some kind of coating built in so that it kind of prevents it from building up too much. Just like if you're going to use any kind of special car wash, a lot of them have cleaners, and they have a built-in little wax to help keep the dirt from building up on it. And it's better than using, you know, never use dishwashing cleaner on your car's paint, because it's not made for paint. You can actually cause damages on your wheels. I mean, go ahead if you want, but the ones that they make specially to clean the wheels, you'll have to clean them a little bit less, because it'll keep them cleaner longer. Next question. Justin T says, Scotty, what do you think about buying a 2011 Honda Civic with a standard transmission? I want it to last forever. Well, it can. I've seen them with 300,000-400,000 miles, original engines, original transmissions. That's a very smart move, you know. They can last forever. So like anything else, you got to take care of it. You got to change the oil and filter as much as you possibly can. I mean, there's a lot of things that you really need to do. But if you do, those things can last forever. Next question. Trevor Hughes says, Scotty, I have a code PO302 and cylinder number 2 misfire on a Vauxhall Corsa 1.2 in the UK. Could it be a fuel injector? Yes, it could. What a lot of people don't understand about misfires are, if a cylinder is misfiring, There can be a lot of reasons they misfire. It can be a bad spark plug, a bad ignition coil, a bad ignition well, but it can also be a bad fuel injector, not spraying the fuel right. It can also be a bad computer, not firing the injector right. It can also be a blowing head gasket. It can be a lot of things. So you have to test them all if you really want to find out why a car is misfiring. It's not as simple as some people may think. Next question. Random stuff. David says, I got a 2015 Nissan Pathfinder. When I turn on the heater, I hear a bad noise. What is it? Okay, you could get all kinds of noises. The first thing is if you turn it on, if there's leaves and crap that got sucked into your heater, it can be rattling around inside. So, check that. Now, if you hear weird noises like clink, 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 and then it stops, that's often the actuators. When you turn on the heater, it's got to send the blend doors to go click to make some of it go to the defrost and some of it go to the heater, and then one's not blowing directly in your face. And so if those blend doors are breaking down, it'll also make all kinds of noises. That can be a really expensive fix. So if it does that, but it works okay, my advice is live with it and pray it doesn't finally break down, not put out any heat at all. Well, that's it for today. Remember, every day I upload 2 videos on the Scotty Kilmer on YouTube. So subscribe to the Scotty Kilmer channel and hit that notifications bell so you'll never miss another notification. And I'm here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time US, answering your questions on YouTube Live, and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live. So I'll catch you then.